Gentlemen, hey, congratulations on Sound of Violence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I could not stop recommending and telling people about this movie because when I watched it, I had no idea what to expect. And it was
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
it was one of those films that I just want to watch it again or at least have sequels to this, something like this.
I mean, I that's music to my ears.
Music, precisely. Hey, so this is being showcased at South by Southwest. So how does it feel that it's being showcased this year at that festival?
Well, it's my second world premiere at South by. I had a documentary called 808 that premiered there in 2015. So I got to experience the in-person excitement of a world premiere there. Obviously, virtual feels like I'm missing the audience, not being there and feeling their reaction. Plus, this movie in a theater is a different experience. But regardless, you know, I mean, I never expected South by to have us, and it's it's you know in the tormented process of putting a movie together, and where we have self-doubt and imposter syndrome and the likes, you kind of, when you have such validation as being accepted in a huge festival like South by, it's pretty unreal, and really, this is credit to all the amazing people who've been part of making this movie a reality and making it what it is. It's it really takes a village, and it really took all of us to be an organism together to kind of thrive and deliver. It took 20 days to shoot this movie, which is very, very tight and very short, and really I received the notification on 23rd December. And I just bounced up and down like I just could not contain my joy. So yeah, so now immediately I felt like thanking absolutely everybody involved, and that goes to them, really.
Well, James, what brought you on to this project? Why did you want to do this project? This is I know you've done projects that were musical nature before.
So I'll just say, like, your experience of watching the film was my experience of reading the film. So I think I read the script and I was more taken back a little bit. And I'll admit I'm not I'm not someone that's just into like one specific genre. I'm a fan of all genres of movies, and I particularly was interested in the creativity of some of these scenes. I don't want to spoil anything, but I really read the script and I had to go back and really reread it and really understand it, because my imagination kind of took it to a whole nother place. And I was curious of the person who would think up this. So I really wanted to meet the maniacal mind behind the madness. So once I had a chat with Alex, we went for a coffee, which turned into a 2.5 hour long meeting. So I think it was a really great experience, and also an opportunity. I was a huge fan of Jasmine in The Leftovers, so I really thought I thought it was all shaping up to be a really fun and hard earned enjoyable experience.
I'm curious, James, because you have such a great imagination. And compared to the film, was the film even more beyond what you imagined?
I mean, it was definitely different to what I imagined. Yeah, I think the way that the editing was done, with the synesthesia, with the initial stuff that was shot, I think it all turned out really, 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 really incredibly visceral. My kind of mind was probably a little bit more out there and not quite as like real and in touch, but I feel Alex did a fantastic job of really tying us all into the feelings and actually having us follow and stay with this quite dark protagonist, this quite difficult to follow protagonist.
Well, then let's talk back to Alex here. Alex, where in your deep dark mind did you actually pull this off? What gave you this inspiration? You must have some kind of vivid dark dreams or something.
No, I mean, horror writers are the least violent people in the world. They're generally, I'm a goofy dad of two with who baby talks to his dog. So, just like I'm clearly not a threat to anybody. But with that in mind, a lot of horror writers tend to exalt their own fears and their own, denunciation of violence. And I combined my experience working on a huge film with 808 and just producing this mastodon of music documentary that really took over my life for 5 years, and carry that into a short and then into a feature with as well. Growing up as the son of an artist, my father's a painter, and surrounded by artists, and also surrounded by incredibly inspiring and powerful women who kind of always led the way in my life. I think there's a combination of all that in the creation of the character of Alexis, and choosing to shift the paradigm of a traditional horror movie and try to follow a character who normally should be an antagonist, but as our main lead, and follow her as an artist rather than a killer, and try to immerse the audience into her artistic drive, her creative highs, and as well to understand the weight of the trauma she went through, and then how the cathartic process that she goes through in her experiments. Now it's a lot of it's a multidimensional process, and when I started writing it, it really grew organically. The short was much more sort of impactful and really about music, shifting the instrument becomes the weapon and the sound of the flesh becomes the music. And that was it's 6 minutes, so I didn't have to over justify myself. But again, in that mini chaos, I created Alexis, and that's the part that really stayed with the audiences and with me. So when I wrote her backstory and when I developed her journey going forward, I tapped into everything I knew, and also I kept everything I didn't know as open as I could to then, for example, when I met Jasmine, to be able to address those open points in the script to make sure that she could, in her own experience and the traits that she shares with the character, she could, really fill those shoes and bring the character to life. And same thing going forward in the process is working with Jasmine, with James, with Lily, to make sure that all the characters had not only the voice that I had written, but actually the voice that they gave to them as well, so we could adjust it and meet in a way so we could say what I hope to say, but say it better, hopefully, by letting as well those fantastic actors bring it all to life. So again, the ideas may come from my weird head, but they only blossom through the amazing people in front and behind the camera who believed in those crazy ideas and the experimentation that went around them to make them happen, because most of them were pretty big. There's no budget limit on imagination, so that's one thing. But when it comes to actually making it happen, you rely on people like that to deliver them and bring them to some sort of fruition.
Alex, one of the things was that I actually loved was that you made the lead character a female lead.
Mm-hmm.
But I think your short film was a male character, right?
No,
correct me. It was also female.
Yeah, the character of Alexis was always a woman, but the way we're introduced to Alexis is different, because she in the short we have those two kids who are composing a beat on a drum machine to hope to win it, and she arrives to help them by giving them guidance about how to compose it. The first shot of the short is actually a cup that says Alexis that she picks up, and we arrive onto that stage and we kind of switch to focus onto those boys, fighting and bickering about making the beats. And this friendly character, Alexis, comes and offers a helping hand because she's a music professional. As she says, she has one of those at home. And then it all unravels to quite surprising and explosive bloody mess. But just again, like that character came to me, and as a woman, because as I say, it tends to be in the stories I write. I don't know why. It's just I mean, I know why, because as I said, I've got to be surrounded by very inspiring women my whole life, and I guess I carry that into my work. But specifically, just all her traits were, and this is why as well, because it's for me to write as well a character who is in a same-sex relationship and address I had to take that with humility, because it might be the idea that comes to my head, but I didn't want to project anything that I assumed about it. So working with Jasmine, who's also in a same-sex relationship and has, again, many traits in common with Alexis, allowed authenticity. And this is where I needed Jasmine to help shape this character away from any cliche, anything. And I was very, very happy when she took it on. And one of the things that she told me in our first meetings that she felt the character was more real and had room for her to be herself.
Excellent. James, how was it working alongside Jasmine, especially through those intense scenes?
It was fantastic, actually. She's as I mentioned earlier, someone I'd admired from afar, and working with her was really easygoing. We, as Alex said, were given space to create the depth and breadth of these characters, to make them really stand up and be more than sort of these 2D tropes. And Jasmine is a professional, and we had a lot of planning. We had a lot of help from Robert, who was doing all the special effects stuff, and it was really about trying to capture really visceral, violent, huge, crazy stuff in a small environment, then captured in a small frame. So it's really an exercise in patience and control when you're trying to do something so big and violent in a thing like an old RV. So it's not particularly easy, but it was a real pleasure. And Alex and the whole team were fantastic, and we really felt, I felt really safe the whole time, like I was able to explore it and really get out there. Channel the stuck pig is all I'll say.
Yeah, but James is a trooper as well. I mean, it's actually all three of them. Just like there's no scene. They never let me even take my eye off the ball once, because they cared so much about those characters that they demanded out of me as much as I demanded out of them. And I think that's the secret to a healthy relationship on set, is not only mutual respect, but mutual challenge. And that applies as well to our amazing cinematographer, Daphne, the whole crew, even producer Hanu, who also went on to edit the movie. He pushed me. This is my directorial feature debut, but obviously I've been a producer for 17 years. So it's, I was as well, there was my own inner conflict about that. And it's this is, there is nothing more rewarding than to be on set where everybody cares so much about a story being right and cares so much about the specific story that we're shooting, that nobody will let anybody kind of drop the ball for anybody. And that is the reason why we could shoot this movie in 20 days. And the reason why we're here.
I love the fact that you use sound experiments. It was almost music, to people's ears with your, the sounds and the music that you actually came up with for this. Alex, could you tell us the development of those rhythms and sounds? And did you ever ask James for, some advice, since he had a little bit of music background from his side?
Well, I think I relied on everybody. I apologize, I'm coughing a little. I relied on all three, their own musical journey, because all three had had either learned an instrument or were musicians. And that was very valuable, because I wanted the environment in which the circle in which Alexis lives to be of musicians and music professionals and and the likes. So I think that was part of as well of their own work to work with the language that we used and everything, and making sure that the words were right. And I apologize. I'm just going to take one sip of water. I apologize.
Go for it.
Happened to me earlier, but luckily someone else was answering a question and I was able to.
So yeah, it allowed the authenticity. Similarly, I'm not a native English speaker because I'm French and Finnish, so I worked with them to make sure that the voice and the words were right. So yes, their musical experience and James living in the music world made the character real, because Duke resonates with his character as well in Vinyl and also his life growing up. So I you know, when James accepted to take on the role, it was a big win for me, because it felt that he was going to bring Duke to be more like him and bring it to the audience with authenticity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. James, I noticed in your filmography in the past, you do a lot of music projects yourself. Is that just a natural tendency to be attracted to for you?
No, I'll set the record straight, Gig. Of course, it's not a natural tendency that I'm just attracted to. It's like anyone in these things. We all are actors, right? You do one good job in something, and then you'll get offered other jobs in that trope, because people see that you're successfully able to portray something. And I do think it does help the upbringing that I've had, the fact that I've played guitar for decades in bands. I think that's all really helpful. But I do think the film industry writ large is guilty a little bit of putting certain people into certain pigeonholes. And I think that is across all genres of television. It's interesting, and I think that that's down to the talent of the particular actor to try and break those tropes that they've been put into by other people.
Well, absolutely. Well, let me wrap it with the both of you with one more question. Obviously, like we indicated before, this is being shown virtually. We are speaking virtually. I would have loved to talk to you guys physically, at South by Southwest. But
we could have shared a beer, had some barbecue,
right?
Band in the background. It would have been great. Could have been two-stepping, could have drunk a Dr. Pepper, could have been real Texan.
So I just have one final question is, the world has gone crazy for the past year. How are you guys staying sane and creative during this entire time?
Who said anything about sanity, Gig?
Yeah, sanity went out of the window a long time ago. No, I mean, I have to say, just like, I'm my kids who challenge me every day. It's interesting because, I obviously I've been working on new stuff, and it's very hard to get writing in those conditions, because you're like, oh, I'm going to have all the time in the world. Surely I'm going to write a masterpiece. And you're sitting in front of it and you're like, how like nothing's coming out. You have you're when you're confined and you don't have your normal worldly interactions, you often have a block. But eventually I got around to it and put focus in it. And I have my amazing wife as well, who supports me and pushes me. And so, yeah, I think sanity is a teamwork. And in our case, at the Noyers, where we support each other as much as possible. And as far as like as well, in the post-production of this film helped a lot, because we shot it in October, November 2019. So before the world went nuts. And then when the world closed down, we were really in deep into the post-production, and that allowed to really have focus on something and have eyes on the prize, if you will. And the moments where we could safely do it with social distancing in a studio to do the mix was a very strange experiment, because we were in studios with masks away from each other and everything, but still creating. And again, those moments are will remember. And you know, it's funny because like I will remember this pandemic a little bit the way I remember my military service, is that, you know, it's just like it's not always fun, and but I'm kind of, you know, I'm grateful I went through it, you know, without even contracting the virus, which was amazing. But I think we'll all look back in this crazy time as something that perhaps taught us more and new things about ourselves, and deal with things that we that you know, differently, and we can be grateful for everything that we, you know. I'm now looking forward to things, and for example, I'm not rushing into my new project that I'm writing. I'm giving myself time to enjoy as well the tour of this film, and hoping that, you know, now that the world is slowly reopening, that we also have some in-person experiences around this crazy little film of ours.
Absolutely. James, last word for you?
No, I'll leave it at that. That was very well said. Thank you. No, I mean, I'll just say, I hope when people get a chance, May 21st, go see The Sound of Violence.
Yeah, hopefully in theaters and on VOD as well, and in the UK in August 31st as well. So it's coming slowly. Our sales team is amazing, and we've been, I mean, the fact that the movie was picked up before we even hit the festival was pretty astounding. So yeah, May 21st is a big day for us.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to recommend this to everybody, and I really hope that your character Alexis come back for more sequels and contraptions, because I just want to see more. Thank you.
I love the sound of that, and you know, who knows?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Bye now.